What's going on YouTube? So this new Lexus GX is a big departure from the previous generation in a lot of ways, but one of the biggest ways is in luxury. And today we're in the most luxurious GX, the Luxury Plus. So is this top dog GX worth its $84,000 price tag? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's get started here with this review and our spec dump. What you find under the hood of this next generation GX is a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. Power output on this is going to be 349 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque.
Now, as far as your transmission is concerned, we have an upgrade to a 10-speed automatic. You have four-wheel drive as standard equipment. That is full-time four-wheel drive. You also have a center locking differential as standard equipment on all versions. As far as your fuel economy, Lexus estimates it comes in at 17 mpg combined.
Now, of course, you're going to want to see the performance of this model out on the road and see how it compares to that previous V8. We will be doing that later on in a test drive. While we're on that test drive, we're going to get things like our signature sound level reading so that you can compare to other midsize luxury SUVs. But let's go ahead and close up the hood, take a look at the Luxury Plus's exterior. Now, as far as the exterior design, of course, this is a really big departure from the previous generation. Lexus really toughened up this design. Obviously, you have a very boxy presence, and that's going to go for every trim that you choose, including this Luxury Plus model. So you'll notice you have the spindle grille. You're not going to find any chrome or anything like that. Even on the Luxury Plus, it's still going to have the matte black finish, which I think looks really nice overall, especially when you pair it with this new paint color to the Lexus lineup, the Incognito here with the GX. Now, you do have body color finish down here on the lower part of the grille as well. And in terms of our lighting, this is also going to stay the same across all the trim levels. You have the signature triple beam full LED headlights. You've got the Arrowhead daytime running light running through the center section, LED turn signal below that. And then as we drop down to the lower part, this is where you'll find LED fog lamps and LED cornering lamps on pretty much every single version of the GX. Also, while I'm down here, I will point out that the luxury version does retain 8.7 inches of ground clearance, just like the other versions. Now, walking around to the rear design, of course, you've got that nice new boxy shape on board, even for the luxury version.
It looks so good and rugged. We've been stopped many times while filming this car just to see. People are just so interested in the way this thing looks. Now, Drew's going to go ahead and hop inside because he's going to go through the taillight elements and we're going to see if all three elements are LED. That's not a given on luxury cars. And we do have an LED brake light portion, LED reverse light, and LED turn signal indicator. So I'm happy Lexus is giving you all three elements as LED. And this is going to be a new full-length LED taillight. Really like the design here. We also have Lexus spelled out across the back. And I do want to point out your rear wiper is right here. Now, down at the lower area, all of this is going to be finished in actually a piano black and body color design for the Luxury Plus trim level. As far as your tow rating is concerned, though, I do want to talk about this. It's 8,000 pounds for the premium and overtrail models. If you choose a luxury like what we have today, it is going to reduce the tow rating down to around 7,000 pounds. So do keep that in mind.
Now, as we move to the wheels, you're going to see some more premium elements for the luxury grade. First of all, we have 22-inch alloy wheels. These are the largest size offering on this next generation GX. And as you can see, really nice looking multi-spoke finish with the gray accents. I think it looks really nice overall. Another premium feature that the luxury model gets is the fact that you have the painted wheel surrounds here on this part. Now, as we kind of move above, of course, you've got that steeply raked windshield. You also have very distinct looking square mirrors. These are going to be finished in body color for the Luxury Plus trim level. We have the turn signal indicator located right here on the side. And in terms of the features, we have all the rest of those as well, including power folding and driver's side auto dimming.
Now, when the GX designers were designing the side, I think they missed the day of kindergarten where you learn about circles because it's just a big box. But honestly, I love the way this thing looks, and that's of course what a lot of GX buyers are wanting. So as far as the overall design, it's going to be very squared off, and of course as far as the length is concerned, it's going to be about 197.1 inches long. And if you're curious as to how that fits into the Lexus lineup, that's about 3 inches shorter than an LX 600. Now, as far as some of the design elements for the Luxury Plus model, we do have body color door handles. We're also going to have blacked out roof rails up top, but do be aware these are not the raised roof rails that you get on the Overtrail Plus. And while I'm up here, I do want to point out that we just have the one standard paint color for this model. However, on the Overtrail models, you can actually get a bi-tone paint color. I really wish they would have brought that maybe to the luxury trim levels as well, because I really like the overall aesthetic of that. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, this is pretty easy. Lexus is including all 4 of your active safety features as standard equipment, and all models do have an optional traffic jam assist function. But guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and see what the Luxury Plus throws in on the inside. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's go ahead and see just how much luxury is in this Luxury Plus's cabin. First, of course, we'll take a quick look at the key fob. Typical Lexus key fob, nothing really interesting going on here. You do have standard smart entry, and you have available digital key, which will allow you to use your phone as a key to get inside the vehicle. When you have the key, just reach behind the handle. That's going to unlock the door. It'll fold the mirrors out. And then you're probably noticing one of the exclusive Luxury Plus features. When I open up the door, the power deploying running boards will actually pop out, gives you a lot lower of an access point, and makes getting in and out very, very easy. But let's take a look inside the interior. Obviously, you're going to see a big change compared to the previous generation, a really cool look on board, and I'm going to start by talking about our seats. So one of the things about choosing a luxury trim level is that you're going to get upgraded from the New Lux leatherette on the other trim levels to a semi-aniline leather on this version. So really beautiful look to this leather. It is soft and supple all through the center section here. We've got the nice stitching detail running through. Overall, very nice and very comfortable seat. You've got a lot of adjustments as well. So as you can see, we have obviously your regular adjustments. You also have a power thigh extension, two-way lumbar support, and then one of the cool features is that this does have massaging. That's on both the driver and the passenger side. 3 color options as well. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that we're fully inside, let's go ahead and go through the other cabin materials. Now, we did spend some time yesterday with the Overtrail version, and this Luxury Plus does do a little bit to elevate over top of that. So we'll start out over here on the door trim. You're going to have your leatherette through here as well as through this section with the stitching detail. We have a perforated leather on this center section, and then the top part of the door trim will be a soft touch plastic. As we move to the upper part of the dash, this is a really nicely padded plastic going through here. You have soft touch materials through there. You'll notice that we have a wood trim that's going to run through there and also is on the door trim as well. And then you've got the leather trim that actually goes all the way around the shifter and down the console for your knee to rest against. Everything in here, of course, this is a Lexus after all, feels super solid and well put together. Now let's go ahead and fire it up with our push button start located up here. Now that we've fired it up, let's get into some of the specific details. We'll start out with our gauge cluster. Obviously, the technology in this new GX has been radically enhanced over the previous generation. That includes having a 12.3-inch full digital gauge cluster as standard equipment on every single trim level. It's reconfigurable with all the types of information that you would expect to see. Plus, if you choose the optional head-up display, you're going to get that up there at the top. That's available actually as an option on all trim levels. Now as we pull back, you have rain-sensing wipers. We have the typical Lexus steering wheel on board, so you've got the nice leather-wrapped. It is going to be thick-rimmed. I will point out, though, that the steering wheel buttons are not the touch capacitive buttons like you have on the RX and the NX. These are just kind of the traditional analog style. Now as far as the wheel itself, power tilt and telescoping on most trim levels, and then you do also have steering wheel heating on all but the very base trim. All right, so let's turn over here and get into some of the interior storage. I'll start out with our console. This opens up the traditional way, and once I open it up, you're going to be greeted with a cool box on this model. This is one of the available options in the GX lineup. You can, of course, opt not to have that and you'll have more storage, but with this, it's going to allow you to kind of refrigerate drinks and things like that. It's a really cool and unique feature. We also have a pretty large wireless phone charging pad located in front of that. Underneath of this slider, you have a couple pretty big cup holders. One thing I do want to point out though is up here in the front, you're not going to find like an additional storage slot. I would have liked to see a little space here where we might be able to additionally stick objects or a phone, but instead you're going to have to maybe utilize the cup holder if you want to plug into either of these USBs or this 12-volt outlet. Now, as we pull back here, one of the things I really like about this next generation GX is even though the technology is enhanced, we still have a lot of traditional elements, like a nice traditional style shifter, pull back for drive, bump over here to the left for manual shifting. You do also have paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well. When we go into reverse, of course, this fully loaded model will greet you with a 360-degree camera system. We've got active trajectory as well as front and rear parking sensors. And as you back up, the model itself will become transparent, which is a pretty cool feature. If you want a trail camera, you can get that on the over trail model, and then down below, of course, you have your electronic parking brake and your brake hold function, along with some physical controls for your four-wheel drive system and your electronic locking center diff. Now, in front of this shifter, you do have, again, some more drive mode control knobs right through there. And then let's get to the next knob, which is our volume knob. A couple different audio systems on this model. This is going to, of course, come with the Mark Levinson 21 speaker premium audio system on the Luxury Plus. Let's give it a sample right now. Yeah, overall sound quality is top notch as we expect from a Mark Levinson sound system. All right, let's zero in up here at our big display. Now, as you can see, this kind of squared off look here, this is a 14-inch display. It's quite large. The lower panel is where you're going to control a lot of climate-related functions. When you choose a premium or a luxury trim level, you get a 3-zone automatic climate system, and you just adjust your zones right here for the front too. You also have automatic 3-stage heated and 3-stage ventilated seats as well, located right there, and some additional climate functions can be brought up by pressing that button. Now, as far as the rest of the infotainment system, this is your typical Lexus system. So it's the latest and greatest. We have wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay. We also have our built-in dynamic navigation system, which is quite responsive, as you can see. And then when you press that button there with the little car, that's where you can get to some additional functions, such as where you turn on the massage. You just actually tap there, then you tap the driver's seat, and then you can turn that on. This has a lot of different levels of intensity, as you can tell with the adjustment. And this is a full body massage. It feels quite nice. This is one of the more aggressive massages. So if you want one that really feels like a real massage, this is a thumbs up from me. Now, as we rise above the display, here with the Luxury Plus, we don't just have the auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink remotes, we also have the digital camera mirror. So if I flip that switch, that's going to cut out all the rear obstructions. And then up top, we have a special feature that I want to talk about as well. So you'll notice the standard sunroof is gone on this model. In its place, we have a panoramic sunroof. All right, so with this is a single piece pano. It does not open, it's a fixed one, but it has the cool functionality where you can turn it light or opaque at the push of a button. So if I press that, as you can see, it kind of clouds it, cuts out a lot of the light. And then furthermore, if you don't want to see it at all, you can just put that sunshade closed.
All right, so let's go ahead and check out the rear seat area of this all-new Lexus GX. Now, the first thing I do want to talk about is the overall space, because we do have those official figures now. So as far as the legroom is concerned, we are going to be sitting at 37 inches of legroom and about 35 inches of headroom. Now, those are not massive figures. However, if you are super concerned about practicality, I do want to point out Lexus will happily sell you a Lexus TX instead. That will give you a little bit more space in the second and third rows. we don't want to just take Lexus's word for the rear legroom. We did bring our ruler to see how much space there is with the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I'm 5'9", and we're sitting at about 6 inches of knee space. My feet can also slide up underneath the seat, and one thing I want to point out is that these seats are fixed. They cannot slide forward and back. However, we can recline them a pretty good distance to maximize comfort. Now, speaking of the seats, I do want to point out that you either have 6 or 7 passenger seating, and that's going to be on the premium and luxury grades. If you choose the Overtrail, you're not going to have a third row at all, so it's just going to be 5 passenger seating. But if you choose a premium or luxury grade, you have the option of getting captain's chairs or bench seating here in the second row. Obviously, we've opted for the captain's chair setup, which gives you this nice armrest. It's a really comfortable seat, and we do have 2 cup holders here in the middle and a little storage cubby in between the seats. Now we also have rear vents that come out of the roof, and that's for our controls here in the center. So we do have the 3-zone climate system back here so we can adjust our own temperature. We also have 3-stage heated rear seats. That's standard on both grades of the luxury and some of the plus models. As we drop down below that, we have 2 USB ports as well. Do be aware you have a little bit of a tunnel here in the middle, and then as far as the door trim is concerned, it's nicely done. We have some soft touch plastics. We also have rear window sunshades, which is very nice. And then in the very bottom, we're going to have plenty of door storage and a very nice Mark Levinson speaker grill. And let's go ahead and check out that third row. Now, before we get back here, I do want to point out the rear door doesn't open too wide, so it's a little bit tight getting into the third row. But as far as getting back here, it's pretty easy. You just pull this lever. When you pull the lever, we'll fold the seat down and kind of pop it out of place. We've seen that on some previous Lexus products as well. And let's go ahead and get back here. It's a little bit difficult to get back here, but not too bad overall. And then let's talk about the space in the third row. Now, like I said, you do get a third row on premium and luxury grades. It's just going to be 2 seats, so you don't have the 8-passenger ability here with the GX. And overall, I'm pretty happy with the in terms of space. So we're sitting at about 32 inches of legroom, about 35 inches of headroom as well. So pretty good space figures. It is going to be less than the Lexus TX for reference, but the main thing I do want to point out back here is that the thigh support is a little bit lacking, especially when you compare it to a TX. You're not going to have a ton of thigh support, but this is actually an okay third row for occasional use. As far as on our third row rating scale, I would say this is fit for in-laws. It's not too bad when it comes to legroom, but the thigh support is not great. My feet can partially slide up underneath the seat, and let's go ahead and talk about some of the features. We do have vents out the top. We also have USB ports, cup holders, and we have the ability to power recline the third row. So this is the maximum recline setting, and we have a button to adjust that here. And let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space with this GX. Now, we do have an important thing to talk about when it comes to this area, because the previous barn-style door that you open from the side, that is going to be gone. I'm kind of thankful for that. I never was a huge fan of the barn-style door, and of course that didn't allow for power ability. Now we have a traditional setup, but Lexus has not gotten rid of the popping rear glass, so we do still have that functionality, which I really like, and I think a lot of you guys like as well. As far as the tailgate itself, it is going to be power. You also do have the hands-free ability as an option. Now, let's talk about this space. Now, behind the third row, it is going to be pretty limited when it comes to the space figures. It's going to be about 10 cubic feet behind the third row seats. Let's go ahead and work on folding those down. We do have a power folding third row, so you just press those buttons right there on the sides. That's going to fold them down. It is not a one press system, so you do have to hold the button down to power fold it down. And then as far as folding the second row seats down, you will have to go up there and fold them manually, but behind the second row we're looking at about 40 cubic feet, and then as a maximum we're looking at about 76 cubic feet of cargo capacity. And now that we got that folded down, as you can see, it does give you a pretty flat loading floor, which is different from other versions like the Overtrail that doesn't have the third row, which is pretty much not flat. And here at Car Confections, we want to provide you all those measures. So let's see how long the cargo area length is with the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". We're sitting at 76 inches of overall cargo length. Let's see how much space there is behind the second row. We're sitting at 42 inches of cargo length. And then as far as our maximum width here, it's going to be 46 inches wide. That's a very wide opening cargo area, as you would expect. This is a very square vehicle, so that allows for more wide of an opening. We also have a household style outlet integrated on the right side, and you're not going to find a spare tire up underneath of the floor, just a little bit of space here because it is integrated up underneath of the bumper itself in traditional body-on-frame GX style. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new Lexus GX, this time in the Luxury Plus trim level. And in this test drive, we're going to be talking about quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. But first, we want to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration to show you what this all-new powertrain is about.
Nice. Yep. That was an acceleration up to 60 miles per hour. Now, of course, like we were saying at the spec dump, one of the huge changes with this new generation is that we've ditched the old V8 and we switched to a twin turbocharged V6. To remind you what that is, 3.4 liter twin turbo V6, 349 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. So those are big jumps in terms of power and especially torque. So power is going to be about 50 horsepower. Torque figure is over 100 pound-feet.
Yeah, I think it's about 150 pound-feet difference compared previous gen to this one. And boy, let me just tell you, you can feel every bit of that difference when you put your foot down. The horsepower is good, but the torque is what you feel. You just really slam back in the seat. It feels peppy. The front end of the car kind of lifts up. It just really feels powerful. And if you're coming from a previous GX, that's a huge difference, because that model, while it did have a very nice V8 growl, it was a little slow. It didn't have a lot of power, didn't have a lot of torque. This is a huge difference in a good direction.
Right, exactly. Naturally aspirated V8s do have their advantages, but the power figures were rather low on that last generation. This is certainly helping things out when you're driving it every day or even driving it aggressively. We're going to try an acceleration from a stop here. There we go. Pretty nice. Like I said, you really feel that torque push you back in the seat. Now, let's talk about the other aspects of the powertrain. We also have a modern transmission to go with this new modern engine. It's a 10-speed automatic. This is a transmission that Toyota's used in some of their other truck architecture models, and it's a good transmission, really nice and smooth. Obviously, you have 10 different gears to select between, so you have a lot of choices in terms of that. And when you put your foot down, you don't have to wait too long to get a kick down of a couple gears. Right now, we're actually driving in, I believe, the normal mode or the comfort mode. Yeah, so that was actually the comfort mode. We can click it into the sport mode. That's going to change things with the performance of the transmission as well as like your steering response.
Yeah, and in typical GX fashion, you do have full-time four-wheel drive as standard equipment. So you're not fooling around with the rear drive setup or anything along those lines. You're getting the full-time four-wheel drive setup. That's kind of a little bit of a tongue twister there, on every single model. Now, you also get a center locking differential as standard equipment on every single model. So even though we're in the Luxury Plus trim level today, and this is not like the most off-road capable GX, you do still get that center locking diff as standard equipment. Now, I want to point out, if you choose the Overtrail models, that's where you add the rear locking differential as well. So if you really want that off-road capability, obviously Lexus is making that Overtrail for you with a 33-inch tires on the outside that are really good at off-roading, and of course that rear locking differential.
So this time we're going a little bit uphill, but I was in the sport mode to give you a demonstration of that. I did notice that when you put in the sport mode, you get a simulated sound enhancement.
Oh yeah,
so,
that's a big difference right there.
It made it sound a lot deeper to kind of remind you of the old V8 maybe.
Yeah, definitely some sound amplification going on there. But now that we've accelerated up to speed, I do want to just go ahead and talk about your ride quality here. The ride quality for this Lexus GX, we've driven the Overtrail at this point, and also now we're in the Luxury Plus, so this is the most luxurious version of the GX. It is still a body-on-frame platform, so you will notice that when it comes to your ride quality. So if you're comparing this to something like a BMW X5 or Mercedes GLE, this is going to have a little bit worse of ride quality. You feel some vibrations going on, but honestly, I think a lot of you guys like that truck feel, and that's why you're looking for a GX, so that won't bother you. And I will say that any type of major intrusion, so if you hit a big pothole, all of that is taken care of because you do have an adaptive variable suspension, so it does a very good job of absorbing that big stuff.
Right, and again, with the drive modes, the adaptive suspension is something that does also change with the drive modes. Not a giant difference between the different modes, but it does make a difference, being a little firmer in sport and a little looser when you go into the comfort mode.
And of course, a lot of you guys are curious about the sound level reading going 55 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and get that. We'll put it on fan speed 1 to be fair. Go 55. And we've settled in at an official Car Confections sound level reading of 59.6 decibels for the Luxury Plus version of the GX 550. Now, I say official a little lightly because we are here in Arizona. We're not in our home state of Kentucky where we do all of our sound level tests. Unfortunately, we can't control where the media drive is. That's where we're at for now. So this is a good reference point as to how quiet this new GX is. I do believe that tested exactly the same as the Overtrail model, so you're not going to have much of a difference between the trim levels when it comes to your sound level, but pretty good sound level, especially considering that this is a desert road and it's a lot rougher than what we would expect back home. Now, we can also check this compared to some of those rivals on carconfections.com/sound level readings, because we post all of our sound level readings on our website. So if you'd like to check those out, we would suggest going to that website. We reviewed a lot of cars on this channel, and I'm sure you won't want to miss out on some of those sound level readings and see how this compares to the rivals. And let's also talk about some of those other details you might be curious about, including your fuel economy. Now, Lexus has estimated the fuel economy for this model. Hasn't been officially EPA tested at the current time, but we're sitting at 15, 21, 17 miles a gallon combined. Obviously, that's not fantastic fuel economy, but you wouldn't expect a big box with a lot of horsepower under the hood to get good fuel economy, and indeed it doesn't. However, Lexus did confirm there will be a hybrid version of this GX coming out at a later date. They have not said when it's coming out just yet, but it will be coming out later. So if you want the best fuel economy in your off-road GX, we'd suggest waiting for the hybrid model, which will be coming out at some point. All right, now it's time for us to do our slam dunk and airball, our favorite element and our least favorite element about this all-new GX. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the slam dunk?
Well, with this redesigned GX, there's a lot to like, a lot. I think the best way to kind of sum it up in a broad way is that it's pleasantly old school while still being modern. Yeah. The old version, had its cool characteristics. It was very old school, charming. But you had a lot of sacrifices and a lot of quirks because it was so old and at that point getting outdated. This I think really remedies that. It keeps a lot of the charm of the old version, but still is thoroughly modernized with all the technology and things that are going to make it much more livable in the day-to-day.
Yeah, and as far as our airball is concerned, we just wish that, especially for this Luxury Plus model that has a sticker price of mid $80,000 price point, that they had done maybe a little bit more to make it more luxurious. I understand in some of the lower trim levels and the mid $60,000 price point, this is a perfectly fine cabin, but for the Luxury Plus, we would have really liked for them to elevate the luxury to a new level for the GX, and it's pretty much the same cabin on all versions. And lastly here, I do want to talk about your warranty. It's Lexus Signature Warranty, 4-year, 50,000 mile basic warranty, 6-year, 70,000 mile powertrain warranty. Lexus does also give you 2 complimentary service visits.
Now, I think especially relevant with this Luxury Plus trim level, because this is probably going to be used primarily on road, is just a little bit about your handling characteristics. And as I circle this roundabout here, I do want to mention that obviously this being kind of that traditional off-road platform, it is still body on frame. It does have old school handling in a sense.
Yeah.
So similar to the last generation, you are going to have a decent amount of body roll as you kind of go around corners. You'll also notice there's a little bit of nosedive when you brake really hard or accelerate really hard, but it is more controlled, I think, than the previous generation, which honestly, if you brake really hard, that was a little bit scary in that version. So we're out in Tucson, Arizona, well, outside of Tucson, Arizona, kind of out in the middle of the desert. Right now we're just crawling over some relatively low speed dirt, or should I say mud road at this point. It doesn't rain very often in the desert, but
We picked today.
a big rain earlier today, and because of that we have a lot of mud, which actually is making things pretty fun.
Oh, absolutely. Earlier, we were going through 6 inches to maybe a foot of standing water, and this GX absolutely handled it like a champ. And as you can see, we're getting over, a little bit more technical stuff right through here, and this GX is absolutely a beast off-road. As you would expect, this is a very off-road capable product, and the Overtrail adds a few extra goodies, that's for sure, over the regular GX.
Right, so if you remember from the main video, all GXs are going to have the center locking differential, but when you have the Overtrail, you're also going to get the rear locking differential. You get a lot of additional features that are going to give you more off-road ability, like Mason was saying. One of them is crawl control. We were using that earlier. It's just, in essence, kind of your off-road cruise control for low speed. The other thing I really like about this, and we're probably going a little bit too fast right now,
I think 5 is the cutoff.
About 5 miles an hour, you have a off-road camera system. See if we can just kind of slow down just a little bit so I can pop it up. Yeah, as you can see, we have this really cool multi-terrain camera, and it gives you so many useful views. You have this kind of transparent view when you're looking at the front and you're looking at the back, just allowing you to really maneuver around different obstacles when you're in a kind of a technical piece of terrain. Also with the Overtrail, we have 8.9 inches of ground clearance versus the other ones are sitting at about 8.7 inches of ground clearance. That's pretty good, of course. You don't have an air suspension or anything like that, so this is not going to be something that adjusts, but that is a good amount of ground clearance. You also have good approach and departure angles, and importantly, we have a real skid plate, so that's going to protect you when you get into some of the rocky stuff. I admittedly did hit something earlier that made a little bit of noise, but you're protected because you hit the skid plate.
Yeah. And let's go ahead and talk about pricing for this all-new GX, because we do have those official numbers in now. So we're going to be sitting at around $64,250 as a starting point for all GXs. That's for the GX 550 Premium. Now, all the other trim levels are on the screen right now. Of course, you end in this Luxury Plus, which is the highest dollar GX that you can get. It's going to start at $79,900 for this Luxury Plus trim level. You do still have some optional equipment, so this one has pretty much every single option package that you can get on this. All told, with the 1350 destination, we're sitting at $83,895, which certainly is more expensive than the previous generation GX, but I'd argue you're getting a heck of a lot more than the previous generation GX. And if you're looking to buy a GX or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, why you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealer negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth review of the all-new 2024 Lexus GX 550 Luxury Plus. If you found this video helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. Now, why is that important? Well, that's how we get invited to events like this. Lexus invited us to come out to Tucson, Arizona and sample out the GX before it really hits dealers or anyone can see it, and we can show you all. So by subscribing, you play a really important role in the content that we're able to film, so please hit that subscribe button down below. If you're already a fan and subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.